and I sold my first Beanie Baby for like $450. That alone in 6 months drove 1.2 million. Turn around and went and had champagne with Quentin Tarantino at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a cruise ship. Starting a company when your customer has no money is a tough business. There's some really dumb people in the world, but if you're not one of them, you're gonna be all right.
Yeah. Hi, welcome back to Basement Dwellers, the show where we keep it real with CEOs and talk to them about their lives before they made it. I'm here with Erik Huberman, founder and CEO of Hawke Media. Erik, thanks for being with us.
No, thanks for having me.
So off the bat, you, I feel like, had success at a pretty early age. Was there ever a phase that you felt like a basement dweller or you were kind of stuck?
I don't know. I mean, I couldn't actually be a basement dweller because my parents would have kicked my ass out. So, but I mean, success took a little while. Don't get me wrong. In the context of things, yes, I'm still young and success came early. But like, I, graduated in 2008, went into real estate, and that was a week before the whole banking industry collapsed.
Bad timing.
Yeah, made $350 that year. Went into a ton of credit card debt trying to live in LA. And then started a music company, paid myself minimum wage living in LA, so that was interesting. Built that for 2 years. Realized it frankly wasn't going to be that big. It was a cool company and profitable, but not going to be big. So hired someone to take my place, moved on, started a t-shirt company. And so this is 4 years into all this. I sold the t-shirt company, which paid off all the debt I got into over 4 years of working in startups and real estate.
So you weren't a basement dweller, you were kind of like a debt dweller.
Yeah, I was grinding it out and living off a credit card and still wanted to live a fun young 20s, so it wasn't like I was completely responsible either. I still did the Vegas trips with my friends and stuff, and I was like, I can't afford this at all, but yep.
Like, can we get into the figures at like 30, 40 in debt, or how high?
It was like 30, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's...
But I carried that 30 for 3 years or something.
Speaking of early success, one of the things I was told, you sold Beanie Babies when you were 10 or so, and you were pretty good at it.
I don't know if good's the word. I bought a bunch of them when I was a 7, 8-year-old because I thought they were fun, hacky sacks. And then the craze hit, and then I started buying and selling them, the ones that I thought were going to be popular. And I guess for some reason, as an 8, 9-year-old, I had a pulse on what was going to be popular. Yeah. And so I had at one point like 100 Beanie Babies, but I sold some for like $400, $500, $100.
Where does one do that as an 8-year-old? Like in the schoolyard?
Trade shows. No.
You would actually go to trade shows?
Yeah.
So you asked your parents, like, can I go here and sell Beanie Babies?
Yeah, and I remember my dad, he dropped me off at one when I think it was 8 or 9, and I sold my first Beanie Baby for like $450. Called him to tell him from like a payphone at the time. I didn't have a cell phone. And he's like, don't worry, I'm sending the Brinks truck, stay right where you are. I had no idea what a Brinks truck was, but I'm like, okay. And I stood there waiting for him. He pulls up to pick me up. I'm like, what are you sending me? He's like, what are you talking about? He tracked a joke, like he thought it was hilarious.
I don't know why he expected an 8-year-old to get that.
He did that all the time.
You've kind of been an early entrepreneur. What would you count as the first company you started?
I would say probably stormwater maintenance company.
Okay, give us like the 2-sentence on what stormwater
maintenance. It was basically California passed a law that you had to filter your storm drains, and it was the liability was on the owner of the property. So for every storm drain you had, if you caught not without a filter in it, just obviously to save runoff and everything, if you had no filter in it, it was a $75,000 fine per storm drain per quarter, if I remember right. And so we came out going, we're going to be the ones to put in these filters and maintain them and everything. The problem was there was a law, but no enforcement. So it was, and the business actually ended up taking off, but it took a while because we'd go show up to these people that had never heard of this law. I remember there was a Gold's Gym in Oxnard, California that we went into, and massive parking lots. We were stoked because in parking lots, it's like every 12 feet there's a storm drain. And so we went in and we're like, you have to do this, and the guy flipped out, just started swearing his ass off and was like, get
thought he was being shaken
off my
down.
Property. Exactly, he thought we were con artists and he chased us out of the building. But then I ended up selling the import lot for basically BMW and Volkswagen for the West Coast import all their cars through Oxnard. They have this massive parking lot. It's just a sea of cars, and we got them as a client.
Okay.
And then that's when I was like, between my junior and senior year of college out in Arizona, and I was in California for it. I literally had to make the decision, do I go back to school or keep running with this? Made the decision I didn't really want to jump in storm drains the rest of my life. And at that time, that's what I felt the decision was. Yeah. And so I went back to school and left it to my partner who grew it to be a multi-million-dollar business.
Okay. Yeah. Well, both decisions ended up being fine.
No, it was great.
So you're a big pro learning person. Yeah. What did you learn running your first company?
I created our contracts. We couldn't afford a lawyer. So I stole a Dragon Chuck security contract because I knew it was a service contract and replicated it for our own company. I created all our sales collateral, our marketing collateral. I made our first sale. So it was like how to get to market, how to actually start something and get it off the ground and build a brand and go without any credibility and just start selling. And frankly, get a little thicker skin, get chased out of a building and go to the next door neighbor and go for the next one.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think many people have been chased out of a building. So
that was really funny. He's screaming at us.
Okay, so one of the things I've read about you is you managed to get LE.com to 1 million in sales in 4 months.
Yep.
How did you do that?
So it's a lot of what we do here, but it was like influencer marketing early. This is 7 years ago.
The returns were probably better.
No, influencer marketing was, I'll give you a free pair of pants or shirt, you're going to post about it. And so it was like, our cost was like $15, but we did that 1,000 times. It drove that alone in 6 months drove 1.2 million. But yeah, timing on that, Facebook at the time was completely non-competitive, so it was super easy to drive arbitrage there. Like there were a list of things that made it easy to market that thing.
Anything marketing or otherwise that you think timing is good right now?
I think, so I actually, in a weird way, it's the opposite. It's like there isn't any silver bullet right now, so it's like more like just be a good marketer, which as an agency that does pretty decent work, we're in a great spot because all these guys that were just selling Facebook advertising and that's it. Don't get me wrong, we do a lot of Facebook ads, but like they did nothing else to complement it or build a real brand story. They're all falling apart. And Facebook does drive a lot of our business, but it's like, for us, Facebook's I think about 20% of our business, whereas most agencies it's like 80 to 100. And so it's still a very complementary thing that we do a ton of, but we do a lot of other things that complement it and make us perform better. Like content marketing is massively important. Everyone's talked in the industry about content being king for like 20 years, but nobody actually creates branded content, like does the Red Bull thing.
Because it's hard.
It's hard.
Yep. So you being one of the biggest marketing consulting agencies, what does the future of marketing hold? Are there any mediums that are really, shining as far as the future?
I think the biggest thing that's going to happen soon is like as AI becomes more of a real thing, it's going to help us with, again, that personalization thing. Like what we talk about is you take Facebook or Google as a platform, they know where you're going, when you're going, what you're doing, what you've bought. Like they have so much data on you that like we're at the point now that they could probably develop this. They haven't yet, where last week I went to DC and it was raining. Yeah. I live in LA and I haven't bought a raincoat in many, many years. So if they sent an ad and said it's going to be raining all week in DC, do you want us to have this raincoat delivered to your door in DC? And they knew the brands I liked, they knew the style I liked, et cetera, which they have all this.
Right.
That's a really easy way to sell a product. We just invested in a radio company inside of Uber's that partners with Uber drivers and controls the radio because we think audio advertise. Yeah. They have like 30,000 drivers on it. It's called Stereo. It's an awesome company, and like we invested for a reason. We think that's going to have potential because we need alternatives. Like TV and radio are still good performing channels. Yeah. And so this is kind of a different radio.
Right. What's your take on Snapchat?
I hope they do something right. I really like the LA ecosystem, but we just had another pain point with them where we were trying to spend money and we literally couldn't get anyone on the phone for 2 weeks and had to give the client their money back because we couldn't get them to spend the money on Snapchat. And the client didn't blame us. They're working with us on a bunch. Now they're putting their money on Facebook and Google and everything else. Like that was like a perfect metaphor for everything that's happening there. It's like, you got to get your shit together.
So we've kind of covered the things that are on your LinkedIn. I was able to find out through research. Did you have any bad jobs that didn't make the cut?
My first job ever, like real job, was I worked at a busboy at an Italian restaurant in my small town I grew up in. I worked for 1 day. I went mountain biking and broke my wrist the next day. Camp was my first job. Second job, which was a good job, was I worked in a health food store in my hometown, Ohio, called Rainbow Bridge. And I did everything there. I was a stock boy. I was a cashier. I worked in the deli. I worked all over the place. And then like 6 months in, I was still making minimum wage, and I find out I'm training people for them, and they're starting at like 20% more pay than me. Yeah. So I went to the GM and I was like, hey, this seems a little off. Like I'm 6 months in, should I be getting a raise? And he's like, well, I've been meaning to talk to you about that. And what proceeded to happen was he explained to me like what my manager under the GM was taking credit for all my work. I'm like, oh, I trained those people. I did that. So it was my word against my manager, who was telling me to do all the work, and he was hanging out. And so it's like, I learned that was one of the main drivers of like, I don't want to work for someone long term. Yeah. Like, I basically didn't politic it right, and I worked my butt off. But
all right, so speaking about learning and having learned from a number of different industries, what are some of your biggest things that you've learned?
Probably the biggest one that I've learned that we talk about all the time is no one's that smart. Okay. The biggest takeaway is like to be successful, you need to work hard enough and be smart enough. And that's those two levels of enough. It's not that high. Just be a decently smart human being and work. And so, the other line I've heard for is just swing the bat. Like just keep trying, because like timing you can't predict, but if you're working and you're, again, thinking through things, you will have some level of success at some point.
So your success is mostly a function of luck, is what you're saying?
I think most people's.
Okay.
Sincerely.
I mean, that's the premise of the show, is that, there is no special class of people. You work hard and you do it, get a few lucky hits, you'll be there.
Right. I actually do believe, not getting over politicized, but like the opportunity gap, and there's a lot of things that don't, but if you're middle upper class, or at least putting yourself in certain scenes, just keep working and something will happen.
What would you say is the biggest mistake you see people make professionally?
Biggest mistake? Analysis paralysis. It's, we talk about it here, like 90% of people don't know how to just get shit done. That's like our number one core value, just get shit done. Like check off the box, move forward, move it down the line, like just keep working. I talk to people that are like, it's like everything's like, oh yeah, we'll circle back in 2 weeks. We'll circle back in a month. We're going to be working on that. We're thinking about this. We're planning this.
Yeah.
And it's all these different, adjectives they use that it's like, or verbs, excuse me, that you're like, okay, but just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like just go. Like start with step 1 and then go to step 2 and like check things off, but make sure you're always improving and moving forward. Because what happens is you look up one day and you're like, holy shit, look what we did.
Who are some of your business idols that you look up to?
Idols is it's funny, I don't really idol. I have a lot of respect for certain people, but like I've never been that guy that's like, this guy's the god. Like I think everyone's got their bonuses. I really like Richard Branson.
Okay.
I think that's the right way to live, where the guy has created so many cool, fun companies that are making money and has made a ton of money, but also is a cool guy, has fun, enjoys life, does what he wants to do. Like, I think that's the right way to do it. Like, I think happiness needs to be a big part of it. And he seems to be a pretty happy guy, while also being hyper successful. And so that would be a person that I would aspire to be like in some senses.
Totally. I think right now, and I've talked to a few people, VCs and whatnot in Silicon Valley, and the lifestyle has kind of become almost cannibalistic with your time.
Which is so, like, people aren't self-aware in the sense, like, I don't know what they're trying to achieve, because that's usually like when people are treating it like a sprint, not a marathon. They're like, I'm going to exit in 3 years and have a ton of money. And like, I've got a lot of friends that have had big exits, and I can tell you, like, there becomes a point, like, you get to 30 or so million bucks, and like you're there. Your lifestyle is not, and even before that, like if you make mid 6 figures a year, you're going to live a similar lifestyle to someone that's made $30 million, who's also going to live a similar lifestyle to $100 million, who's going to live. The difference is like you might fly private more. Like there's a lot of these other guys in finance that grind their ass off, never live their life, miss their 20s, miss their 30s,
miss their kids sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And I honestly. I also know that like there's nothing scalable about hustle, and like the whole hustle porn thing that's come up recently, where it's like, and I like Gary's awesome. I actually like him a lot, but the way he promotes like get your ass up, work. There's nothing scalable about that, and so frankly, that's super limiting. Like if your success is a function of how many hours you put in, you've already screwed up, because you're shitty at delegating, you're not good at hiring. If you're spending your time on stuff you can't hire someone for, you're wasting your time. Like that's not time efficient. So like, forcing yourself to work in normal hours and like work normally actually makes it so that you build a company that can scale past you. And so I think a lot of people get stuck in this hustle and then get underwater and can never keep up.
Yeah. Okay. So you say there's not too much of a difference between income or the lifestyles past a certain income level. That being said, you having reached a certain level of success, what are the luxuries that you do enjoy?
We almost sold the company a year in. Like we got an offer to sell, and my partner and I decided not to take it, but we were like, all right, well, let's plan this out. Like we're going to be here for a long time. And like we've had a recap of that meeting every few years, but like I was like, okay, well, for the next few years, like I want to go see a really cool place, like 2 or 3 times a year, like 10-day trip somewhere really cool, 2 or 3 times. And I did that. His was at the time, I want to play golf every other Wednesday morning. I want to take the morning off and go play golf. And he did that too. And just finding that balance again, so that like I'm not trying to get out of this.
Going back to perks of being a CEO, I think one of the things that I really would want to do is, or just feel fortunate for, is to interface with a lot of cool, talented people, which it sounds like you get to do, CEOs, business people. Are there any in-person meetings or events that really stick out to you where like, this feels really cool, I get to be here?
Yeah, quite a few. YPO is incredible, Young Presidents Organization. You got to do, I think the minimum's now 12 million in revenue and 50 employees. But everybody in it that's the minimum. And a lot of people are 20 years past that and like crush it. Like you meet some amazing people that way, and it's a fraternity in the sense of like everybody takes care of everybody and everybody's open to helping each other. So like it's really cool. I've met a ton of amazing people through that. Summit Series is a really good one. almost built a home on their mountain that they bought it. They have a ski resort, but it's like, that's like they call it the millennial Davos, where it's like they get a bunch of, cool tech people together. But I was walking down a hallway, one of the events I went to, we were on a cruise ship and I'm walking down the hall and with a buddy and turns a corner walking towards us, Quentin Tarantino.
Wow.
And my buddy looks up and goes, "Quentin, I love your shit." That's all I could think to say. And he goes, "Oh, thanks, mate. You want to come party?" I'm like, yeah. Turn around and went and had champagne with Quentin Tarantino at like 3 o'clock in the morning on a cruise ship. Like we've worked with Lars from Metallica, we've worked with Kelly Osbourne, and we've worked with quite a few people. Andre 3000.
Oh, really?
Awesome guy.
Yeah, he's one I want to meet for sure.
So the first time I met him, a really fun story. I met him at William Morris at the agency, and we sit down and we start talking about like what he's thinking about doing, and I'm getting introduced. And he goes, "Hey, can you give me a sec?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." And he gets up and leaves. So I'm talking to his manager and his agent. We're hanging out. And like 10 minutes go by. I'm like, "Is he okay?" Like, "Yeah." And he walks back in. And he goes, "I just really think you need to have this." He went down the street and bought me like this gourmet ice cream sandwich. He's just like, "You need this." I was like, "That's." It was like,
I would
really
love a gourmet ice cream sandwich from Andre 3000. I think that's all the questions we have for today.
Cool.
I think if I had to summarize some of our learnings, we'd say your 3 rules: get shit done, learn, and be cool, be happy.
Yep.
Yeah. So thanks so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right.